Is it recording, bud? Or do I got time for a solo?
I think you just hit my thing right there.
Yeah, it's got bad run out now. I did it.
Yeah.
Is it recording?
Yeah, you're live.
Right there, bud. What's up, boys and squirrels? You're a squirrel, bro.
Yeah, I'm a squirrel.
I was looking for a nut. What?
Hey.
No, hey, on today's episode of how many transmissions can you put in a truck in a month?
Yeah.
We're putting a transmission in Steven's truck. Steven blew a tranny. It's pretty normal for him, but it's the first one that he's blown on this truck. So this is Steven's daily. He's got a 2014 one-ton mega cab. Right now it's stock fuel, stock head bolts, stock valve springs, stock. 165,000 miles on the clock.
Yep.
It's got a full Thurn kit, 3-inch springs in the front, all the Thurn goodies. It's got the Atlas leafs in the back, sway bar links, shocks that are valved. Not like a truss and 2.5s or anything, but it's a really, really good commuter / light off-road truck. We drag a skid steer and a mini excavator with it, and water tanks and
family truck.
yeah. So bottom line is the truck's got 165,000 on it. It's on a 37-inch tire with a 410 gear, and it needs a transmission.
Yeah, it has a really bad 3/4 shudder when you're in the power of any sort.
Yeah.
Where
So
like vibrates the dash and like it's bad.
nice.
Yeah.
So OD clutches are trash in that guy. So we're gonna pull that unit out, and we've got something special today. Another kit from
Yeah.
Randy's transmission. I know we've
Little
been wearing y'all
different
out.
this time though.
Yeah, but the bottom line is, all their stuff is legit. We've had really, really good experience with every single unit that we've had from these guys. So we're trying out a kit that is a stage 2 drop-in kit. So
Yeah.
this is a DIY kit. You do this at your house or at your shop or whatever, and you basically need a handful of hand tools, some really basic stuff, and we'll go over that here in just a minute. You pull your transmission out, you clean the entire case, and ship off all your cores, your valve body, your torque converter, the pieces that you're going to be swapping out, the center support, stuff like that inside the trans. You send that back as cores. They send you a plug-and-play kit. Your input drum, OD, UD stack up is ready to rock and roll. Your center support's ready to rock and roll. You have a complete valve body that's been assembled that just drops in. You've got a new sprag, low reverse sprag. So there's and we're going to go over all this stuff here in just a minute. All right, we got the first exciting part out of the way, which is picking up a 9,000-pound truck that no matter what lift you put it on is always sketchy.
Yeah.
Now the first part of it is second part, truck's in the air. Second part, we have to get the driveline out, get the transmission out. This is pretty boring and straightforward, so we can knock this out, get the trans out here on the ground where we can work on it, and then we'll bring you along.
Hey, did you tell these people the deadline we're up against?
Oh, no, I did not. It's another interesting thing. So today is, what is today? Today Monday? Today's Monday.
Today's Monday night.
Yeah, it's Monday night. We started this morning off by getting rid of one RV and getting another one. That was supposed to take an hour, and
Took 6.
it took, it's basically after lunch. So we got a late start, even though we got up early to try to be ready for it, because we're going on a trip, leaving Thursday. We're going to be gone for 10 days. And we're going up to New Mexico and then up into Colorado. We're going to take the kids and go do some primitive camping and some cool stuff. Maybe do some off-roading and drive the trucks around on a few of the trails that are up there. And we've got quite a pretty long list of stuff to do. So try to fix Steven's camper. Actually, before we left, spend some time on that. Decided just going to trade it off. Found a great deal and traded across for a better one. And I was kind of recalking some stuff on mine and checking the wheel bearings and batteries and all this stuff because it's going to be a couple thousand miles by the time we're done. you don't want to have a problem that far away from home and where you don't have phone service. So that turned into needing to do the ball joints on Steven's truck, which we put off for, I don't know, 6 months. The transmission in this thing has been slipping for a while, and now we're going to go on this trip, and we're both just like, I know it's 1 3-4 shift away from just walking. Yeah, so Steven's got 3 kids. One of them is basically brand new. So we're already a little bit mental because we're going up to the mountains with, he's got 3 kids, I got 2 kids, got 2 or 3 dogs apiece, I got a cat, I got 2 goats.
I've got a gerbil I'm taking with me.
Yeah, like we have all this crap, and we're trying to, anytime we try to leave to do anything, it's just you rip half your hair out. So anyway, leaving Thursday, today's Monday. Our buddy Josh up at Randy's, I talked to him last week. We were trying to get our cash together so that we could buy this drop-in kit because it's a really good bang for the buck. This truck's been re-geared where it's perfect. It's 410 on 37, effective ratio of about a 373 on like a 285 or a 33-inch tire is about how it feels to drive it. You know, you get the same RPM at a given speed as a 373 and a 33. So anyway, it's ready to rock and roll, but it's needed a trans. So that's what we're trying to dive in and do. And the ball joints. Change the fluid in the transfer case, which is straightforward, drain and fill. But we still got to like pack the wheel bearings on my camper because I haven't even checked them. We got to fill the propane bottles. We got to make sure the batteries are good. And
I got to do a steering stabilizer, the TKs, and front and rear diffs too.
So he's got to service front and rear diffs, and he's got a steering stabilizer to swap. So another couple hours of stuff. Again, it's Monday. It's like 7 o'clock right now, and well, we're going to show you how quickly you can put a 750 kit in a 68. All right, guys. Just thinking how bad it sucks that you can't hear the background music that's playing whenever you're here, because we usually got some bangers going on, and I feel like it would give a lot better context to the atmosphere. Steven, it was Britney Spears, and then NSYNC.
Yeah.
You're going to that new right there. You're doing a reunion tour.
Yeah, Backdoor Boys or Backstreet Boys.
Yeah.
I mean,
Wow. Oh my goodness.
that's my favorite album.
Wow. 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 All right. Well. Let's see. What was I going to say? Got sidetracked there with that little tidbit. Oh, yeah. I was going to tell you how I've never built a 68 RFE, and neither has Steven. And so for those of y'all who are watching this, well, we're going to dive in this together. You've never built a transmission, and I've never built one of these transmissions. So we're going to do this together. And I think the point of this is to show you that if you have a 68 RFE and you're making a little bit of power, you got a little bit of tire, or you want to have something that's going to be stout, you're going to be able to see, hopefully, that it's something that you could do. It takes really basic tools to do it, and this is all theoretical now. Basic tools, basic kit, you drop it in, you check the in-play, you rock and roll, basically. So, anywho, you pretty excited? You got this, right?
Yeah, I'm feeling good.
It can't be that bad. We've definitely jumped into stuff that's way more difficult than this. We basically got like 4 or 5 bulk pieces that are going to go in here, a couple snap rings you got to pay attention, some washers need to make sure that you got the paint facing up. But the good thing is that Randy sends you an ATSG manual, which is automatic transmission service guide, maybe is what that means.
Wow, way to go.
That was off the cuff, so I don't know exactly what that means, but it's it's basically a book that is the benchmark for people that are building transmissions to reference as a guide for in-play, tolerances on stuff if you stack clutches and steels. The good thing is that most of the clutch, if not all of them, are already stacked up. All the tolerances are set. We just got to drop it in the right order without ruining anything, and then everything will be just fine.
Yeah, and then in 2 days we head basically to where there's no life and no service, and we get eaten by bears if it has any issues.
Oh yeah, we left off that it was last night or maybe this morning. I can't remember because I'm half delusional, but we're leaving in
39 hours.
Yeah, 39 or so hours from now. we were going to get started this morning, and what had happened is that we had a business to run, and that didn't happen.
So 10 hours later.
So now it's 5 o'clock. It is Tuesday. We're leaving Thursday. Never done it before. Have to be ready to go by Thursday. And we need some kind of drive time. You know what I mean? I mean, you got to know if it's going to be all right.
Yeah.
So we got a little bit of stuff to do. So anyway, I'm going to shut up now, and then we're going to turn the camera on, and I'm going to tear this transmission down in front of you. And we're going to try to find a way, because we don't have a transmission stand for stacking one of these, to make this as easy on us as humanly possible. So maybe you can learn something from this about what maybe not to do. Let me give you a rundown on what comes in a kit when you do one of these drop-in 750 kits from Randy. So one thing to remember, if you're going to do a drop-in 750 kit, you have to have transmission tuning. You're going to want late lockup schedule, so 4th gear lockup and on. And you're going to need line pressure. So this valve body is designed to run, I think, a minimum of 200. Typically we run about 225, but just wanted to say that disclaimer. This isn't, you don't drop this into Grandpappy's truck. Not this kit. You'd have to have you'd have to have a different kit. All right. So I'm going to go over what we have that shows up in the kit right off the rip. So you're going to get a box that has the low reverse. This has got your sprag, low reverse clutch. It's all installed in this drum. It's ready to go. Those are stacked. The piston's in, snap rings in. You're not going to want to let the sprag fall out, so keep that facing up. And then you've got your 2C, 4C clutch stack that's here. This is going to control several of the shifts throughout it. This is mainly 5th and 6th gear stuff, and I can't remember what else it uses 2 and 4C for. I think 3rd gear, and when it goes into 4th, it uses these two. I'm not going to get too technical on you guys. I have a...
Yeah, I'm lost.
I have a... Actually, you know what? I'm going to use this point of reference because I'm not a 68 wizard.
Wow.
So I have a picture
You
here.
don't have this memorized?
Look, this is the picture that I always refer to that tells the shift schedule, right? So 1st gear, low reverse, underdrive. 2nd clutch, underdrive. So this shows the pattern. It's a clutch-to-clutch transmission, so every time you make a shift, one clutch is releasing and another one is applying. So yeah, 2nd clutch is used in 2nd gear, 4th clutch is used in 3rd gear, then UD, OD, underdrive, overdrive, those apply at the same time. That gives you direct, which is 1-to-1. Then 5th gear is overdrive, 4th clutch, 6th gear is overdrive, 2nd clutch. So now that that's clear as mud, let's move on to what the rest of these parts are. This is the 2C, 4C, and the center support. We're going to install that about in the middle of the transmission, and then this is the piece that's got your overdrive, underdrive clutch, and your reverse clutch. And this is a Sonics drum. It's got a bolt-on stiffener. I think this has 16 clutches stacked in it, and I want to say factory is like 12. Billet input shaft. And again, this is all set up.
It's an Airmet input shaft, right?
I'm not certain that it's Airmet. I do know it's billet. I think this is actually a Sonax billet input shaft. But either way.
I don't want it.
Yeah, throw this in the garbage.
I'm just kidding.
So you have that assembly. You get a billet flex plate. You get this has a mag high-tech pan, and it's got turbine speed sensors. Looks like we've got some bearings and some washers. There's some miscellaneous bushings, which I hope we're not going to install any of those. Again, I don't know any better, so I'm not sure if we are or not, but I don't think so. Line pressure sensor, Mopar line pressure sensors, turbine sensors, a filter, and a spin-on filter. Then up here is your front pump. This has been modified for this setup. So don't know exactly what it has, but I would imagine that it's probably got a torque converter limit valve, which limits the amount of pressure that can happen in lockup, and so you get a consistent lockup feel. There's kind of a bunch of things that you just do in a 68, and this has the majority of those things done. The only thing that gets more done as you start increasing power is you start getting into special drums, billet OD clutch hub pieces, so that you don't break this off on a real hard 3/4 shift. But again, that's all outside of my depth of transmission stuff. I just know what the parts are called and generally how they work. I'm not a transmission wizard, but I think we're going to make it through this. Anyway, front pump assembly, and then kind of the heart and soul of this thing, the brain that controls it, is the really pretty Baby Maker 1000.
Oh, that's billet.
It's got a billet lower channel plate. This is basically between this and a bonded separator plate. This solves all of the torsional flex issues of the valve body, and it eliminates any cross leaks that typically happen on a factory casting. They're really notorious for having leaks. This fixes a lot of that. We've used quite a few of these. This makes a dramatic difference even on a stock truck. But again, this is the brain that is going to be sending hydraulic fluid through every one of the passages. So it's got a new solenoid pack, Mopar solenoid pack on it, and it's ready to rock. It looks like the tower seals are already installed, and basically you're gonna bolt this thing in. So last but not least, there's a torque converter in a box sitting over here, and we actually asked Josh up there. They typically send this kit with a stock stall converter. We asked him because Steven wanted it.
That's me. And yes, I wanted it.
Steven wanted a low stall converter. So we have a 15SS converter that's going in this thing. So even when the converter's unlocked, this truck should be really efficient at moving itself down the road, and it's very heavy. I think on the scale it was 8,800 pounds.
Yeah, which is really close to what it's weighed at the scrap metal place. So
we've been 87 to 8,900.
And that's empty right now too.
Yeah.
Like
no tools in it.
Low on fuel.
Yeah.
Nothing. So
safe to say that
it's
with a couple
10,000
people and
all day.
stuff, yeah, you're 9,500 to 10,000 pounds really easily, and a tighter converter is going to do a really good job when it's not locked up. So, yeah, man, we're
the converter. I'm not going big turbos.
yeah, again, he's
like
on stock fuel right now.
Yeah,
this gives us a lot of room to grow. I've got a compound set up on my truck. I have a different transmission in mine. I have a Warhorse from Red Horse Motorsports, which is back when Dallas Penn was working with those guys. I've had it for a few years. Real similar kind of setup. I have the same drum, very similar clutch stack up. I do not have the exact same valve body, but I got a D&J components lower billet half and all the Sonics accumulators and stuff, which this one does too. Oversized switch valve, all that good
all
stuff.
the goodies.
And they vacuum test these. They sand them on a flat stone, so everything's perfectly flat. It's got a bonded plate in between them all. This is all what it takes to build a really good 68. One thing I did not mention was that the sprag, I might have said it, but I want to make sure, the low reverse sprag, this is an upgraded piece. This is much stronger than factory. So from the ass end of the trans to the front end of the trans, it has a lot of upgraded parts, and this thing should work really well, and this truck ought to feel pretty dramatically better. It's amazing how much better one of these trucks is to drive with a good solid transmission. It's a brand new truck. It feels like it should from the factory. So anyway, I'm gonna try to hush now and get to the part where we're tearing this thing down. Now I've shown you all the goodies. I'm gonna try not to knock on the floor or ruin anything while we tear this turd down, get the fluid drain, get everything apart, and start tearing all the way down. One thing I do want to mention is that whenever you do receive your boxes, you want to make sure that you keep a hold of all your return label stuff, and you want to do a good job of taking care of your plastic bags and your boxes.
Yeah, drain your fluid.
Yes, do your builder a favor, do yourself a favor, so that UPS doesn't put it in a hazardous waste and it takes forever to get back to them. Drain the converter, drain your fluids, drain the valve body, all that stuff before you package it up. Do a good job of packaging this stuff up, and make sure that you keep your return labels to the side where you don't get transmission fluid on them, and the guy can read them and pick the stuff up. All right, now it's time for the work. Let's go. Okay, so we had it up on this stand. Again, we're dumb, right? You're dumb and we're dumb, so let's be dumb together. The first dumb thing that you'll do is you'll start tearing it down on, what is that tool called?
This is a transmission jack.
Transmission jack. I'm a fart smeller. Smart feller. Anywho, we're to the point now. I've got the snap ring out of the front. There's this little piece. Let me flip the camera around. I'm a terrible camera guy today. All right, so this piece, this cover right here, it covers the front pump. There's a big snap ring. We popped it out. Pretty straightforward. They've got all the turbine speed sensors out. There's 2 of them and a line pressure sensor. Went ahead and pulled all 3. They all use an 8mm socket. They've got the 15 millimeter bolts that go on the extension housing on the backside. Pulled this out, and then we pulled the park gear off the backside. Just used a magnet and walked it off. It had a single snap ring. We set that snap ring and the park gear over to the side. And now we're going to go ahead and pull the pan off. That way we can access the rest of the stuff inside the transmission. And I'm not exactly certain, but I'm pretty sure that we're going to start by getting the valve body off, and then that's going to give us access to knock the front pump cover off, unbolt the pump, and start getting down inside the transmission. So. All right, guys, that really wasn't that bad. It really wasn't. I think that we got pretty fortunate. I got the right size screwdriver where the pump cover, dust cover came off the front side of the trans. Didn't ruin that at all, so we'll be able to replace the seal on that and throw it back in, no problem. Got everything else pulled apart. It's really pretty self-explanatory. You can't really mess anything up, honestly, unless you just go full dumb. But here's all the guts from the inside of it. And my camera's being a dweeb. All right, so basically you start up there at the input drum right there, and after the front pump comes out, then you move into that drum and you start making your way back. You just pulling snap rings. There's a directional snap ring that comes out that's in front of this center support, and you pull that piece out. You start pulling planets and all this other business out, and bro, pretty straightforward. Not a whole lot there. I could go into some technical jargon with you guys, but again, I'm not super familiar with all the stuff that's here, but this is not a wildly complicated setup, and as long as we put the bearings in the right way and make sure that these paint marks, see those blue mark right there on that bearing, make sure those are all facing up, and there's a directional washer, I think a selective shim that's on this side, this black one there in the middle. It's kind of wavy looking, but all in all, pretty straightforward. And we could tear this stuff down and I guess try to figure out where the issue is coming from. We looked at a couple of things, pulled the low reverse clutches out of the back of this and looked at them. They're absolutely perfect. I believe this is 4C out of the middle here. I think 2C is the small clutch that's in the inside of this piece here. So basically you've got 5th and 6th gear that are happening in this unit here. And so we'll probably tear this down just to see, at least pull this snap ring out and take a look and see what these clutches look like. But basically everything has looked really good so far. What we were expecting to see is the overdrive clutch stack that's inside of this being in bad shape, which I'm almost certain that it is. So maybe we'll tear that down, and when we find some carnage, we'll fire the camera up and show y'all what we found. But we are basically ready to rinse the rest of the inside of the transmission case out and get this thing set up where we can start stacking it back up. And it won't be long, and we'll be ready to, I guess put it back in the truck and see what old Twelver thinks about it.
Yeah.
Pretty excited?
Yeah.
It doesn't look, it's not that bad.
No,
I mean, someone else
I'm
did
kind of bummed, to be honest.
that it didn't suck.
Yeah, that you put 40,000 miles on this truck at 450 horse. Not really like abused, but
On this trans, yeah, but this
Yeah,
was actually, this
it
trans
is.
was in my truck because I popped mine at 20,000, had it warranted because I was doing like 500 to the tire on a 35.
Yeah.
I exploded the input shaft, converter, and stator support and everything.
Yep.
The dealer put a trans in
A
it,
new one, not a reman.
right? And that's this transmission.
Yep.
And then
So
the
you
truck
put
that
about
Steven
40,000
has.
miles on it, then I got it.
Yeah, long story short, that trans came out of my truck, went in this truck, and you've put 60 or 70,000 on it on top of the 40,000 I put on it.
Yeah, with more weight and more.
A lot of those,
hauled everything, all our equipment, dump trucks, everything.
dude.
Like it's.
I was on 342 gears with 37s. You were on 342 gears.
Yes.
Like this thing has seen a little bit of some
That's
stuff.
how come I'm like, damn man, like.
Expected to see more trash stuff inside.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we're gonna dig through these. I'm betting you inside this little guy right here.
We got some colorful
This little
stuff.
guy. Yeah. I bet he has some. I bet he has some problems in there. And this plate right here is used for reverse and overdrive, and so it was set over the top of this inner drum piece. Pulled it off, and it's snap ring. And as soon as I did, these were spring loaded, which is what we thought. The overdrive was trashed, and these are the overdrive clutches, and they are super duper thin. And when they get hot, they warp. And when they warp, they take up the tolerance. Look at this. Those should be laid flat. Those should lay perfectly flat. And they're conical shaped, and this is taking up all this tolerance on the inside. Look at the lining on this one. It's just burnt. As Steven was saying, man, I got this shutter. Sometimes when it goes into fourth, it just shutters real bad. Unless I give it plenty of power, and then it does not so
Yeah,
bad.
if I gave it like 60 or 70% throttle, it shuddered. If I gave it 100, it didn't.
Dude, we were
So-
just dragging a trailer with this truck yesterday. That's ridiculous. This is like ragged edge of failure because when it doesn't, when it's like this, all like warped, the tolerance is not there anymore inside there. This is taking up all the tolerance, which means these clutches are dragging on the back side of that plate the entire time. So anyway, that's where the problem was.
Yeah, it's a good thing we did this so that we ain't broke down.
Yeah, again, I'm so very, very happy that we were ahead of this failing, because in the middle of the road or in the middle of Colorado, broke down on the road with your family and a camper behind you would be freaking miserable. Imagine what you would pay if you knew that your stuff is going to break down in the middle of the desert somewhere. What would you pay to make it be whole again right then and there? It's like, I'd give 10 grand. Okay, sweet.
So
that buys a badass 68.
Just to be clear for my wife, this right here would have left us stranded, right, with our baby starving?
Yes.
Is what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay, so I knew I needed a stage 2
100%.
with a triple disc and all that.
Yeah. This isn't overkill.
Baby's going to need a neck brace is what's going to happen.
All right, so we got the case clean. It's ready to rock. Now, some of y'all who watched probably saw some red rags in there. Don't worry, that'll all be blown out. We're not going to leave any lint in anything. I learned to make sure that was clean many years ago. So we are basically ready to get started going back together. So we're going to get some of our mess kind of picked up a little bit and get some assembly lube, get our bearings and stuff out, read over what looks like the instructions that we're going to have to do for some of this. We've got some O-rings and stuff, like this stuff for the connect the lines to and from the cooler, and little retaining clips. We're going to do all that after the fact. The main thing we're worried about right now is getting bearings and little washers and all that stuff out. Got an output shaft seal to put in and some other stuff. So we're going to get everything organized. And I would say that if you got a question about any of this stuff, refer to that ATSG manual, which is kind of hilarious that there's not one in the box. I think they meant to send us one, but we didn't end up with one. Thankfully, this is really easy. There is a sheet or two that came with it that has some specs and some stuff. And they also have a pretty cool video that describes the installation process as well. The video starts from this point with the case clean and empty. So it's important to be able to get this stuff torn apart, which is why we kind of just gave you a quick rundown. I mean, if you go to do it yourself, I think that you're probably not going to use this basic YouTube video, but I will tell you right now, it's really self-explanatory. A lot of this stuff won't come out without pulling the snap ring out. There's a few things you need to pay attention to. Again, you're going to want to refer to that ATSG manual if you have any concerns about what you're stacking up, and you need to have some decent level of knowledge to at least get this far in a decent little, understanding of how not to ruin some stuff.
Exactly.
Because it is aluminum, and there are some springs, and they're spring-loaded snap rings and stuff, so you're going to want to be careful when you're doing it. So, anywho, you can get everything cleaned up and start putting it together. Okay, so the first things first, we've got our drain back valve installed into the case. There's a couple methods on checking that. Randy's video says that you shouldn't be able to suck or blow through it, but you should be able to use compressed air. That thing is perfect, so we installed it and torqued it to spec. They send you a billet filter screw adapter that goes in place of the factory plastic one, so you're going to want to pull the filter out of the box, take the black plastic one out. There's a billet filter adapter that goes in there, and I've already installed it, but it goes in, torque that thing to spec, spin the filter on until it's snug and about 3/4 of a turn past it, lubricating the O-ring before you install it so you can get that thing back apart. I've just got some basic assembly paste. There's like 4 or 5 different kinds of this. This is the thicker of it, so I'm not going to be real crazy about that when I go to install anything, but I want to put a little bit on so that I don't have anything binding. I don't want to catch any sharp edges. So the first thing I'm going to install is the reverse drum, and this has got your sprag and your low reverse clutches in it. This is already pre-assembled and ready to rock and roll, so I'm just going to lube a little bit around the edges of where this goes. Again, I'm not a professional transmission builder, so I'm just going off. I've built a bunch of manual transmissions, and I'm just going off of what I know, which is to make sure that parts aren't completely dry when you go together. So all that stuff's going to set down in these lugs, so I'm just going to put a little bit of stuff on these leading edges. Again, this may be dumb. I may be an idiot. I'm not really sure, but I'm going to put a little bit of lube on there because you don't want to be putting any of this stuff together dry, in my opinion. Done plenty of gear sets, rebuilt injection pumps, done all kinds of stuff. Never been an automatic transmission builder. And the more the years go by and the more stuff that we buy, the older I get, I really like an automatic transmission. So this is a good first step to kind of get familiarized with what that stuff takes. So there is a feed hole on this that has to face the valve body. And this is the feed hole right here that has to face the inside of the case down to where the valve body is. So that has to be indexed where when it installs, that is facing down through this access window right here. So this is kind of heavy. You don't want to drop it. And, you know, yeah.
Yeah, no.
Yeah. So try to keep an eye on where that feed hole is. This is kind of a pain in the butt. I'm sure there's probably some guys that are laughing. Like, check this dweeb out. Make sure. Yeah, that's definitely not lined up right. There we go. Somewhere in there. It's facing there, so looks like it needs to go right about there. That piece is going to set down, and I'm going to believe I have a snap ring that holds that piece in. So. Okay, so I told y'all they didn't send us the ATSG manual, but what they did send was exactly what we needed to be able to look for a torque reference. Like, we're fixing to bolt the front pump in this thing. Did find that it has the in play right here. Output shaft in play, input, 4C clutch pack clearance, all that stuff is here. So this is everything that's needed. And you really need to just check, I think it was a 4C clearance. Everything on this transmission seems to be absolutely perfect so far. So the last thing that I'm looking for, I actually Googled the torque spec on like our drainback valve and stuff like that. So I should have looked better in the box for this because this is where all the stuff is. But we're fixing to bolt the oil pump in, and it looks like it goes to 250 inch-pounds. So I'm going to torque it down. Make sure this thing's fully seated. In Randy's video, they tell you to look at the edge. You can see if you just looking, you know, making sure that the pump doesn't rock at all, because you don't want to tighten this into something that it doesn't belong, you know, into. So anyway, it's fully seated. We're going up to 250. Okay, so I've got the valve body in, and the next what we're going to do is install the push-on filter. And I want to take a second to show you guys this. Even if you're not building a 68, if you're just doing your own filters, which a lot of guys do at their house, you want to check something. Or if you have a built trans and you have weird shutters or erratic line pressure or line pressure codes, the first place to check is the push-on filter. And you wouldn't believe how long it takes to figure this out. But anyway, you're going to want to do a pressure test to make sure this thing is sealed around the crimp. And this is one that leaks. So the test is you put the suction tube, cover it with your hand, hold down on this blowback nipple that's on the back side of the filter. If you don't have a filter that has this nipple, throw that in the trash or go get a Mopar. There's a reason that they have this, and this is to burp air. Listen to this thing.
I don't know if you can hear it in the camera, but right where we're looking in the camera, you can feel the air blowing out of the seam.
Yes. And so if I can blow air, that same thing under vacuum may even be actually worse, because it's pulling the plastic down against this deal.
Yeah, you're sealing it almost, or trying to when you push.
Right. That will give you problems like you wouldn't believe.
Yeah.
Shutters into 3/4, weird flares, and you'll be thinking something's wrong, and it's the cheapest part of the transmission.
Yeah, you have a perfectly fine transmission, you swap your filters, and now you need a transmission.
So you want to make sure that whenever you get a filter that it says that it's a Mopar filter. It says Made in USA on it. It's got this micro filtration. This side shows Filtran. Like
there's the old
the
Chrysler.
Pentastar, you know, and the part number. This is actually heavier than the aftermarket. There's a lot of these folks that are out there that are doing look-alike Mopar stuff, and it's junk. It's the same with fuel filters. You buy them off Amazon. It's not even the same thing. We have a buddy of ours, Ryan Straitman, who posted a video up of comparing some filters, and it's ridiculous. Just want to show you that this one doesn't leak. This is a Mopar one. So that one's airtight, not going to have any issue. Something to check every single time that you're doing one. Just wanted to give you a heads up. All right, you guys, as we got this thing assembled, Steven cried a bunch, but I handled it. Not a big deal.
Yeah, if it wasn't for Daddy, sorry, now you can see me. If it wasn't for Daddy Willie, I really wouldn't even be here today.
Yeah,
So,
that's no big deal.
yeah,
Just looking for credit where credit's due. Not asking for anything else.
Thanks for birthing me, raising me, and doing the transmission.
Yeah, no, you were hard to birth.
I know.
But yeah, it's all done. We got this thing put together. Just resealed the. Put a couple O-rings in the cooler line fittings that are on the side of the trans. New clips there. Put the new vent tube on. All that little business is done. They're setting up on the trans jack and getting ready to slide this thing in.
Hey, will you straighten this?
Yes. All right. All right, so we can get that thing secured. Then we're going to throw a little bit of fluid in the torque converter, lube the O-ring around the outside, and slide the converter on. And then it's time to put it in here and get it all buttoned up. Pretty excited. Once we get it together, we'll take it out on the road and, well, I guess tell y'all how it shifts and see what this dweeb's reaction is to it. He wanted a stock transmission, remember? You just wanted a stock Mopar unit.
Look, I just didn't want to walk in the middle of Colorado hooked to a bumper pull with 3 kids and a mad old lady.
I just want to know why you're excited about having a built trans, that's all.
I'm not.
Well, okay, yeah, no, there's nothing exciting.
I prefer my trans to be weak.
Yeah, good flare, 230-degree temp.
You like a full built tranny. One that'll take you to Pound Town.
Yeah, wow. All right, guys, we got the trans topped off. Fluid level's looking good. Just got done with a relearn. Everything went perfect. Got a 200 PSI, 225 PSI line pressure file on the trans, and we're about to go for a test drive. All right, here we go. First, second, third, lock up, unlock 4, unlock 5, unlock 6. Bro, it's so money. Yeah, it feels good.
Yeah.
I use like this much throttle. Dude, that 15SS converter this truck's heavier than mine, and it moves easier.
How's it feel to drive my truck with my new transmission in it while I sit?
I mean, it feels pretty good.
Yeah?
You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
You like it?
No, it's pretty rewarding.
Yeah.
You know, not gonna lie. Dude, all right, so quick recap. What do we have in that? We figured earlier at the shop today, we were trying to think, like, what exactly we had in it. We pulled the transmission out. That took probably an hour.
Yep.
Right? So, then tearing the thing down, another hour.
Yeah, maybe 2.
Okay, and then cleaning time, 30 minutes.
Yeah. Because this was a good transmission, not an exploded, broken shaft, broken planets. Like, this was a good working transmission that drove into the shop. So, we didn't have, chunks to clean out.
It almost wasn't a working transmission. Remember those overdrive clutches are freaking ruined? But still, if you can pull your stuff down, the point is that if you can get it apart before it's trashed, you can throw a nice kit in, and you're gonna have something that's super solid. This truck feels completely different with this transmission in it. It's like zero power input. When the converter locks up, you can tell you got something that's super stout. So then we were there last night. We started at 5 and we left at 8.
Yeah, or 9, but like, I mean, it wasn't non-stop working.
We had
on just that.
Yeah, we were talking to a couple dudes.
And then we had
come by. So
half
3
a
hours
day this morning to finish it and get it in the truck. So it's like a full day.
4, so 7 hours, and then we had, what was the other? 1, 2, 3, 10.
I don't know. I lost count of your math, but all I know is in a day,
I don't either.
in a day you could do it all.
You could do it in a day. After doing one, you could do one in a day easily.
Yeah.
I am freaking thrilled, man. You don't just think about you don't have the downtime. You're not waiting for the builder. You don't have to worry about stacking the clutches up and stuff. I mean, we had to check a couple of clearances. That was no big deal whatsoever. And honestly, if you had a trans that was working good, you can almost not even check the clearance. Like the selective shim that goes on the front side of the drum, you pop
it didn't wear out.
Yeah. So all in all, awesome. Awesome.
Yeah, we're fixing to put about 3,500 miles on it, pulling a trailer all across the
kind of Midwest, southern Midwest. We're going
mountainy terrain.
You're going about halfway up Colorado on the western side. We're going through New Mexico. We're going to jaunt into Arizona for a second. So we're going to be doing lots of pulling. It's going to be doing lots of shifting.
Yep.
And I'm pretty excited, man. Fingers crossed we don't have any issues. Long way from home. That's why we were trying to do it, was to be proactive and not have an issue. And that's what I'd recommend that you do. If you can't afford to pay to have a shop pull and stab your trans and ship it all for a core and the downtime and all that, it's less shipping cost to you. There's less weight. You get to build your core. It's a really good setup. In fact, it's the way to roll.
Another one.
I would do it again for sure.
Yeah.
So yeah, anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Wish us the very best of luck. We're probably going to film some of our travels with the kids and the wives and stuff. I mean, it's a lot of cool stuff to look at. We'll certainly be filming and giving an update on the truck. So y'all stay tuned. Appreciate you guys watching. Thanks again to Randy's Transmission. If you're wondering what kit we put in, again, it's the drop-in DIY 750 kit. They just released their stage 1 kit. This is the stage 2.
So more options for you guys.
They have everything. 10 speeds, your late model 10 speeds, 6-speed Allison, 68 RFE, ISN transmission, 48 RE, 47 RE, 5R110. Go give them a look. randystransmission.com. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you, Randy's.
Yep, thanks, Randy's.
Until next time.
Oh yeah, go buy a shirt at bunkerbranding.com.
Yeah, support us. If you like what you're watching and you like what we're doing, y'all go support us. Go check out our stuff at the merchandise at bunkerbranding.com. Thank you guys so much for watching. We'll see you next time. Later.